Happy New Year and welcome to the year 2022. And let me wish all of you a very happy, prosperous year. And I'm also hoping, that as I shared with you from that story, which was a true story that we enjoyed in my last episode, I'm hoping that we have not only made resolutions and that our resolutions will go beyond January, will go beyond March, will go beyond July, will go beyond November. In fact, will become our way of life forever. And chief of those resolutions, if you remember, is the decision, the determination that going forward, you will make it a way of life to always put yourself in the other person's shoes. Not just me, not just my own problem, but learn to understand the other person. Put yourself in their shoes. It will help to understand and it will bring a faster resolution of whatever conflict or dispute you may have with them.
So, Mediator Yemi, how do I put myself in other people's shoes? Or how do I think about them when they don't even think about me?
Okay, that's good thought. How do I do that? I yes, I hesitate. Yeah, that took me a little bit by that. I'm glad that question came up. I'm sure I think it was an amplification of my thoughts, and I'm sure that some of you have had the same thoughts and would like to ask me the same question. Yes, how do you do it? Let me tell you, like most things in life, nothing ventured, nothing gained. There's some things that don't come naturally. None of us come into this world toilet trained. None of us come into this world learning how to eat with cutlery. None of us come into this world with all the graces that we learn to say please, to say thank you, to and so on and so forth. They are learned. I want to commend to you. If you have not already made that resolution, making a resolution is not just what you will do, but also what you will learn to do. That you will learn, you will make it your priority that whenever I have a situation, we have been taught sometimes, we're told if somebody offends you, don't talk immediately, count 1 to 10. What are you doing in the 1 to 10? I want to suggest something to you. In that 1 to 10, put yourself in the shoes of the other person. If I were him, if I were her, why? Oh, I think when you begin to do that, you begin to understand at least why they are grieved. You may not agree with it. You may feel it's not justified, but at least you understand. And if you go to my blog site, you find that that's the basis for that tagline that says, now we understand. Now we better understand. Because when I understand how the other side is feeling, then it is easier for me to work with them to find a solution because hopefully they are also getting to understand how I feel. Oh, and by the way, that is what mediation is about. You see, as I continue in my musings on mediation and I think about it, I realize that this role of the mediator is not just to settle the quarrel, but actually I have a duty to help both sides. I have to guide them tactfully, diplomatically, nicely, skillfully. But one aim is if I can get either side to appreciate what the other is saying. And the thing is, that way it is easier for us to collaborate to find a solution that works.
Is this even practical, Mediator Yemi? How practical is this?
Hmm. Good question. Good question. Um, my thought again. Okay, I'll be honest with you. it's not always practical. It will not always be practical. Sometimes emotions are fraught. Sometimes people are hurt, people are angry, people are sad, people are grieved. But you know what? That is why when we have a mediation, you have two things that must be present. You need a skillful mediator who will help you to bridge that gap of impossibility, will bring you to that ideal. Number two, you need an environment. First of all, there is the emotional environment which is conducive to that mediation, but you also have the mediator's own skills at helping parties to think beyond themselves by carefully questioning them, by carefully probing them, by carefully helping them to explore areas of their thoughts that they have not even thought about before then, but we may be lurking in the background. And yes, it is not always practical, but the idea is that you have a mediator who is skilled in helping you to go beyond the ordinary. And by so doing, you begin to surmount the obstacles of impracticability. And that is why skills training for a mediator is very important. It is interesting that a mediator has to learn how to conduct a mediation session. You just can't jump from the beginning and start thinking of a solution and thinking of compromise and thinking of argument, but there has to have been enough time given to carefully, without offending, but carefully probe the parties and bring the kind of questions skillfully that brings out their real motives, that brings out the real things that are really hurting them. And by asking those questions, and I like to do this in joint session, because when we do that in joint session, as you are doing that to the other side, and they are answering those questions, it is giving the other side an opportunity to learn firsthand how the other side is feeling. And this is what I say with all due respect to my fellow mediators. I don't like jumping quickly into a private caucus unless situation really demands it. I'd like to do that probing and exploration while they're both present, because what does it do? It enables both parties to hear firsthand where the other side is coming from. And with the help of the mediator, we can begin to assist them to put themselves in the other party's position. And that is what we are trying to achieve in the mediation. Help us to go out of ourselves. Help us to go and understand where the other side is coming from. And when both sides understand that, you begin to create that gray area where interests and needs overlap, where they begin to find common ground. And if you can expand that common ground wide enough, you find it eclipses. Have you ever seen a moonlight eclipse? Have you seen the approaching as the earth is approaching the moon, and the big moon that was separate is gradually getting bigger and bigger, and then it is swallowing up, and then all you have is one large black circle and a very narrow halo of light around it. I believe that is what mediation does. And that is why, as much as possible, I like to see us in that joint session. And yes, when we do this, what seemed impractical actually begin to be shown up to be not as impractical as it seemed. And I think in that way I answer my own question and answer my own conscience. Well, we'll continue to think, we'll continue to muse, we'll continue to wander around this wonderful practice of mediation. Happy New Year once again. Best. of everything else in 2022 and beyond. See you next time.